right, so hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Dwayne Mosby. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the program coordinator for the Resource Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity. So I would like to thank you all so much for joining us for the Twice as Talented for Half Black Drag panel. So one of the reasons behind creating this panel is A, everything that's going on, but B, we also need to highlight things so much more than just Black pain and suffering. We also need to highlight Black joy, Black art, and just Black creativity in general. And there is no one better than this hand-selected panel of queens that I have before us today. They're all absolutely amazing in each of their own right. So I want to leave the introductions to each of them. So for folks, I'm going to go ahead and while they're introducing themselves, drop some Zoom agreements into it. Please go ahead and review those just to make sure that the space is equitable and accessible to everyone. But I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Cooper. Since yours is first in frame for me, I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Cooper. My pronouns are he, him, his, and girl. I am the program coordinator or an academic advisor for the physics department at UCSB, as well as a prominent drag queen in the Ventura County area and all around the world, hopefully soon.
Next up, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Hershii LiqCour.
That's me. How y'all doing? My name is Hershii LiqCour-Jete. I've been doing drag for 5 years. I'm just a local club entertainer. So from anywhere from Santa Barbara to Victorville, you're gonna find me in somebody's club. Before the pandemic, I was a housekeeper. So right now we're just hoping the government just allows me to live as long as they want me to live until this little extension plan run out. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Hershii. And then next up, I'll go ahead and introduce Sheba. Or I'll have her introduce herself, Miss Sheba.
I got a text message as soon as you said it, and I was like, was it? Okay, that was me. Hi, I'm Sheba. I'm from Oxnard, California. I am 30 years old. Thank you. I'm in that next chapter in my life where drag is now more a career than it is just something to do and be fun. But also I love being, you know, in the trenches, so to speak. So I'm very actively marching for Black rights, gay rights, trans rights, especially because they're kind of seen as like negative. So I'm always there, and drag is fun, and yeah. So yeah, so I'm here just in awe of all the sisters and their togetherness. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you, Sheba. And last but certainly not least, Ms. Vivian Storm.
Jumbo. I'm Vivian Storm. I've been I've been in drag for about 2 days now. Been doing drag for 2 days, and it's just been I just love it. I love everything about it. From the hair to the shoes. What else? I am a proud 34 years old, and I like long walks to the bank to deposit funds in my multiple accounts. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much for those wonderful introductions. And so another background I forgot to do in my own introduction is I'm also a drag performer. I perform locally. My drag name is Maddy Mokes. I perform mostly in Santa Barbara and LA. So I do have the qualifications to sit on this board and ask the questions I'm about to. So I think the first thing that I want to, oh yes, Cooper.
Oh, I was gonna say, and you said LA and Santa Barbara, you skipped over a place.
Oh yes, and Ventura. Let us not forget Ventura. Yes, because I was in Cooper's show and I got paid very well there. So make sure you're paying your performers. The first thing is to address the name of this. So the name of this panel is Twice as Talented for Half. And so growing up, I know that I heard the saying, and I'm sure y'all did as well, of that saying of you have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have. So anyone from the panel may speak, just go ahead and free form and just bounce off each other. But did you hear that phrase going up? Where did it come from? And have you found that to be true within the drag community?
I definitely have. I didn't experience it honestly moving until I moved out here to Los Angeles. I started drag professionally in Atlanta, and that was back when I was trash, and I was still getting bookings and I was still getting paid. I never had to, the phrase "pay your dues" or "work for free" was never a thing until I moved out here. And then I came out here and realized that the system out here worked on a buddy system, if we like you. So a lot of the girls play the whole, oh, we love your drag, we love your art, you do such good work, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And it's no shade to anybody's like talent, but I know what I can do. And girls that couldn't do half of what I can do were getting booked more than me. And that was something I didn't get until working the scene a little bit longer and realize something I've heard. Actually, it's something I heard last night talking to another queen. They don't want certain type of mixes. We don't want certain type of music played in our club. We don't want to see this in our club. And all the, words and lingo, rap, monologues, all that stuff is my drag. So basically what I was hearing was they didn't want me in their club. I don't want to overtalk anybody. Oh, okay.
No, that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. I started drag like 10 years ago in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. All places. Yes, Oshkosh Bagosh. Everybody says that. You can go ahead and think it, say it, and all that. But I started in Oshkosh, and it was at the university. I was in my master's program there, and some of my students thought that it would be a really good idea for me to go ahead and do it because I'm always singing and I'm always like dancing in the hallway or something or whatnot. And there was no clubs to perform at that I knew of during that time. So I wasn't a performer in terms of being in the clubs, but I was a performer for those 2 years that I was in grad school because they had a show once a year. So that was like my introduction to drag, and I was only on the stage during that time. Then I moved to Milwaukee after moving from New York I did it in New York a little bit, and then I moved to Chicago, then Milwaukee. But I took a long ass break. Sorry, a long break. I took a long break, and the same type of treatment was there. Literally, I'm an R&B throwback 90s queen. That's my drag. I love the 90s music. I love just having, that nostalgia of just, grooving and just shaking your head and doing all of that and like really going there. So Mary J. Blige was my girl, and, Fantasia and all the oldies, Patty, all of those people who can take off their shoes and throw their wigs and all that stuff. I used to love all of that, right? And same clubs did not like, the R&B, the rap, any of that. So they were like, you can't play that really. And the whole dues part of the conversation is, I think that's the worst thing you can say to anybody. I really do. I think it's the worst thing you can say because I'm just like, my question is always to, especially the older generation who say that to me, I'm like, how did that work for you? Because we still don't have equal pay. So how does paying your dues work? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that, which is why I love this young generation. Obviously, I don't like everything that is happening, but I love the questioning that this generation does, and I love that they're not taking no for an answer or this whole paying your dues thing as an answer. They're like, okay, yeah, how does that work for you? And you will change this, unless you're going to be out of here. And I love that about this new generation.
Mm-hmm.
I know, for me growing up, I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I was born and raised in the South. And the sense of racism and segregation was still alive, very well alive in a lot of different places. And I didn't do drag until I moved to Salt Lake City, Utah. So you got Oshkosh Bagosh and I got Utah. And when I started doing drag, there was this sense, I had a good drag mother who was like, you are a gift to your skill. I'm a singer like Vivian. And Vivian and I have sang together, and I grew up on the old soul, Aretha Franklin, you know, Shaka Khan, all those artists. That's what I grew up singing, but I also trained in Broadway. And so I started doing these shows, and people would tell me like, oh, we want you to come here and do, you know, the people that look like you know, Aretha Franklin, 'cause you're fat. Or my favorite was, you're gonna do Beyonce. I'm like, I would love to do Beyonce. Oh, you're gonna listen, we're gonna call it Fat-Once. We're going to make a point to make you stand out. It's funny, it's worth it. You'll make your money. And I'm like, but I'm a professionally trained artist. On top of all of this is part of the whole brand. And it's so worthy of so much more than being pigeonholed into one thing. Like, I couldn't go and do other things. I had to try and figure out a way to create those other things to make myself feel good, because there was a point before I moved here where I was just like, I might quit drag altogether. I mean, I'm never going to be able to just live my truth as an artist. And still, even out here, that's saying, you got to pay your dues. I'm like, I am 38 years old. I've been paying taxes on a job since I was 15. I done paid them.
Yes.
They are paid.
Yes,
Nice to love it. Yes.
And
oh, okay. Let me go back. Just for me, it was I guess after like the 7th year, I was like, you know what, Jesus, I done worked 6 months out of gig. I remember it was one of my first hosting jobs on the East Coast. And I literally told myself, I was like, I'm gonna try to get a show here. Like, with incentive, I'm gonna bring people in. And they're like, oh my goodness, that would be so good. The last one flopped. And I'm like, oh, just don't flop. Like, that's all you gotta do is don't flop. And the first night they paid me because I had just worked the shift. So then I had to go in the bathroom, did the whole Wonder Woman thing, came out, and they were like, oh. So then all like the straight people was like, oh my goodness, like, you really do this like for a living? I'm like, yeah, like, this ain't no joke. Like, I need to. And so they loved it. And I think sales were 1,500 that night. Boom.
Word.
I'm like, okay. The next week, they were like, we're gonna do this again. Sales was 1,400, or I don't want to say next week, the next event, the next month, because it was 6 months, mind you. Didn't get paid for that one. Oh, we didn't know it was going to be booked. I'm like, okay, cool. Mind you, since I worked there, there was other people that had other events that they had, and they were like booked and things like that. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to still do the show. Like, it's cool. Next month comes, like, oh, we don't have it in the budget. Technically, it's a free show. Like, we can't pay you. I was like, okay, I get that. But why haven't you guys been helping advertise? Like, you're supposed to back us. Like, this was our agreement. Oh, they weren't telling me behind doors that because they're getting so much sales, they didn't want so much, I guess, gay people at the club, because I was turning it out and people were really like, oh, we want this. And they're like, oh, we're not trying to literally make this like a safe haven, a place for people to come and like be able to be themselves. At that point, we had already lost 2 clubs, 2 big clubs in Allentown, PA. And when I tell you, it was like, if I didn't do it, I felt like nobody was, because nobody had been. So I was like, I can do it for free, but if the restaurant isn't backing me and people are just like, not advertising. And then I found out that they fired a manager because of, the fact that she was fighting for it. And she was like my first manager. I didn't have a drag mother, but I had her. Thank you, Kiki. And so it was important. She could tell that I was doing what we needed to do. We were doing marches and doing everything. And the only thing I wanted was the one club that we still had left and that club to have a march together. And that kind of fizzled. But I could say at the end of the day that there's going to always be people that are going to seem like they're there. And once it gets too hot, they're like, but you just got to keep going. And I kept doing it. Moved out here. Vivian knows the conversation we had when I was doing my first show here. And from there, I just met all of these girls. I remember I met Hershii and I was like, you know what, Jesus? I was like, I don't feel that tenseness. I don't feel like I have to, be fake. I felt the love from the door. And then I met Cooper when she crowned me, and I said, you know what, Jesus, I'm glad I didn't give up. During those 6 months, I was homeless too. I don't want to get emotional. But I guess drag kind of kept me going. And so I just pushed it. And so I didn't grow with the whole drag community. So I didn't have the upbringing, so I had to learn. I had to learn a lot on my own. And so I always tried to be kind to people, because you never know who you're inspiring. Even if you're going through stuff, you can get through it. And I love God, and those that know me know that I do. And so I just tell people, like, it might not be easy, but the journey is worth it, because you're going to inspire someone who might be like you, who might be going through adversity. And so the community that I've created is not just a community, it's like family, sisterhood, motherhood. And so for me, it's not just on the stage, it's off the stage too. So yeah, sorry.
No,
I don't have to cry in front of people.
Not apologize. And thank you so much for being vulnerable to share that with us and hold this space with us and be fully within your emotions. You ain't gotta wipe them away. Don't be ashamed of them.
I couldn't see y'all. I was like, why is it so wet in here? And then I was like, oh, because you're crying.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to touch on something that you had said, which was talking about the way in which you don't know necessarily who might be looking up to you, or who might be aspiring to you, or who might want to be connecting with you. And so jumping to a question that was meant to be a little bit further down, but for those young Black queens who are aspiring to be in the scene, find where they belong, and find their motivation to stay within the scene, what do y'all recommend? Where do y'all recommend them turning to, and how can they build community?
For me personally, I found and I had to learn it moving out here. I found my salvation in being relentless to be myself. I played out here, especially in Los Angeles and adjacent. I tried coming out here and playing the game and buddying up to people and doing certain songs and all that stuff. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't work. And I didn't. And that's actually when I started losing my bookings, and I wasn't getting into the clubs that I wanted to get into and all this. It wasn't until I was in their face, promoters, other drag queens, drag sisters, whoever. It wasn't until I was in their face, like, girl, this is what you're going to get. And as you can see on the stage, the girls live for it. So you're either going to take it or I'm going to go to another club. And it cost me some bookings with quite a few clubs, but I got more like the relationships that I have with you guys, the relationships that I have with queens coming up, quote unquote. I don't like saying behind me, but the queens that I have coming up behind me that have their own shows now. People remember you when you're yourself. And when you're, and like Sheba was saying, when you're nice and like, I throw shade and, do my little thing all the time. But
I do too, but with love.
But people remember when you're nice when you're genuine and when you're nice and when you're yourself. It's nothing fake about me. I come in and give you exactly who I am from the second I walk in the door to when I'm walking out. And that's what people remember. So I would tell any queen that's trying to get in, the fake stuff, the being fake and playing the game, it's only going to get you so far. Eventually, everybody's going to pick out who you really are, and they're going to decide whether they want to deal with you. And it's better, and it serves you more of a purpose to be yourself.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, I come from a big community in Salt Lake City that we thrived on what we considered being the alternative to what people knew. We were live singing, we were doing stage acts and the whole 9 yards. And I moved to California, and one of the things that I had to hold for myself was that I be self-evident and know that you are worthy. some people might talk about your craft, some people might talk about your makeup, some people might talk about all these things, but we are always ever growing and changing and building our craft. But you have to be self-evident and understand that you yourself are worthy and you have something to bring to the table. And that's what you have to hone, is what you have to bring to the table. There, I love all the queens here, but you put them all together and you know, a small baby, and you may have my size. I am never going to be a skinny queen. That is never going to be, and you ain't going to catch me kicking and flipping. I'm not going to do a death drop. But what I do have to offer, I bring to the max. And something about being nice, I am all for being nice, but you also have to take care of yourself and self-preservation. I've had some experiences recently that have taught me that sometimes being nice is not enough, but there is a sense of self-preservation. Know your worth and know that you are a good person. That's what I'm going to call it's. I'm not nice. I am a good person, and I strive to be a good person. I strive to be a good person and be fair to everyone. That's what you have to do when you're coming up in the community like this, because I've not worked in LA clubs, but I've seen it. I know that it's cutthroat. And in our community, it's a lot less cutthroat, but there's a lot less opportunities. And so you want to give everybody a chance. And you have to understand that those chances sometimes are far and few between, especially right now what we're in. And for me, as a Black queen in a community where there's not a lot of us, I feel like it's not even, it's my what's the right word? Sheba, you got me thinking religion. It's my cross to bear to lift my sisters up of color.
Yes.
It's my cross to bear to lift my sisters up of color, because when they see us, the first thing they see is Black. They don't see our skills. They don't see what we have to offer a lot of times. They see that we are Black, and how can they market that against the beautiful set of white queens who they feel can pull in more in an audience?
Mm-hmm. Wait, I got to look at everybody's faces because I don't. Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the truth, and so I had to build my self-confidence and know that though I may not be perfect and I might not be like anyone else, guess what? Ain't nobody like me.
Right.
I'm done. I gotta get out. Whoop, gotta sit back for a second. Go ahead. Who's next?
I guess I'll go. I caught my second win. I was like, y'all gonna have to go. I gotta breathe. Yeah, like I went to fashion school, so I had kind of like a different kind of take on it. I would always get people saying like, well, you can fit the clothes, because I didn't have a dress for them. So I was kind of already doing it, didn't really know. A lot of people would kind of flake on photo shoots, found myself beating faces, didn't know that it was gonna be something that I could do. And I remember just not caring like how I got into it, but just doing it, but not like being dangerous or anything. But, you know, if I was nervous, people were like, girl, you got it, you can do it, just do it, have fun. And then I got so serious when I got into competition. And I think that's something that you have to understand. Like, if you're not having fun, it's gonna read that. And so I was doing stuff that everybody was saying to do. Before I knew it, my skin tone was lighter than this here because I was trying to appease. But people were saying, oh girl, yes, it looks good. And I guess because I didn't have those real people around me, that sisterhood, you know, you move to a different state for 5 years and they say, who is this queen? Oh, she can do this, she can sew, she's, you know, putting on a lot more than what we can offer. She's a threat. You know, she'll get close enough, but because she's in our house, and this is from people that have been living there. So I'm hearing stuff. So I'm like, you know, just be yourself. Don't continue to be like them, you know, with your language and how nasty they can be and whatnot. And so I just took some time and I was like, you know what, I ain't gonna do it no more. I'm done with drag. And then again, I just kept doing it. And I was like, something I love to do. And I think one of the best moments, I'll put it like this, that I've witnessed was when I won my title. This little girl came up to me and she said, "Can I get your autograph?" And I'm like, "Who, me?" I'm like, like, I didn't know that I could inspire someone so young because, we think it's drag, it's just, and then it got serious and then the work had to be done. And so I feel like for those first 7 years, I was so caught up into what everybody else was doing. I was missing out on a lot of those opportunities that I could have been enjoying because I was so in my head in competition and this 8 count, learn how to Vogue and, and then I just started having fun. And before I knew it, everything else started opening up. And then the sisterhood came about. And I said, you know what, I'm glad I went through that, that I touched on earlier with the whole 6 months of freeness, because it got me to the point where I was like, you know what, your worth now. You can do it. There's nothing stopping you now. You have incentive because you're getting booked. And the bookings that I didn't expect from the people that saw what I had did when there was no budget, that's important too. And so, yeah.
I think for me, I definitely want to say and echo what everybody else said about being themselves. I also think that with that being said, create for yourself. I feel like a lot of people are doing a lot of like, I'm just trying to get you to like me. I'm trying to get into your show. I'm trying to figure this out. And I think the one thing that I've been looking at, I live in Santa Barbara, and I call it a blink city. And I call it a blink city, especially with drag, is because nothing lasts with drag in any of the clubs. Like you blink, it's over, And so every time there's a show, you blink, it's over. Like we get excited about it, and then it's canceled. We're not making that much money or whatever the case may be. I just think it's funny because I don't see any of the money that comes in, but they are not making any money at the same time. So for me, I'm just like, okay, and I'm seeing people buy drinks. I'm seeing the whole club is packed, and I'm like, you giving me $25. You giving me $75. You giving me $50. So I'm not seeing no money either. And you saying this is like lucrative for you. And so I'm like, okay, so it's going to be a short-lived thing. And I get excited about it or whatnot. So I really live in a moment with drag here. And I'm very selective. Even though there's not a lot of opportunity, I'm very selective. And the reason why I'm selective is because I'm worthy simply because I exist, not because I get a booking. I just exist and I'm worthy. Okay. So for me, I'm going to create a platform for myself because that's the age we live in. If you don't have it, you create it. One of my good friends, she's on this called Angel, started doing videos, and we have a DJ here, DJ Zeke, who gets on Twitch and has a whole set, and Angel came up with this idea of just like doing all these videos, and sending these videos to the Twitch live things. And I'm just like, there's so many different opportunities to figure that out and create your own bookings or create your own something and stay in your own lane and create your own lane that we did not have back then, right? And so for me, I'm just like, if people don't want to book you, find a way, do something else, get on your Instagram, get on your Facebook Live and talk to people, do those things. You got some cool friends. And if you don't, if you know somebody who does, ask them to do a Facebook Live with you or something like that. Just like start to do something that is different from the norm. The normal is like go to these places, go to these people, meet with these queens and all of those things, like networking and all of that. But now we don't even have to do a lot of that, and so I would say create your own stuff and stop waiting for people to validate you because you already got it. And continue to practice with your makeup. I'm not the best at it, but I learned how to own my face. And I think that's what's most important is learning how to own your face and own like what your craft is. And I'm going to continue to be the R&B queen no matter where I go. I don't care if it's all country in the bar, honey. You're going to get some Fantasia and you're going to like it. And if you don't, I don't ever have to see you no more. And I'm gonna still do Fantasia. Okay. So me, I say to you, yeah, be yourself. Know that you are worthy simply because you exist. Create your own lane if one is not created. Stop asking for validation from other people and validate yourself. And get on social media and again, create your own. If it's not there, create your own.
And if I can add one more thing too, and I think it's a side effect from Drag Race. A lot of girls just jump on and kind of think drag is something that can just be done. And then when it's not working well enough for them, then they hate it, or drag is fake, blah, 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 go. So you gotta love this shit when it's not paying the bills, because drag ain't gonna pay no bills for you for, hold on, can you see me?
No, you just went out, but you're right.
Oh, if you can hear me, sorry, I don't know what's going on my phone. But you gotta love this shit when it ain't paying the bills, because drag didn't start paying any bills for me for at least a good 2 years in.
Yeah.
And I used to, when I moved out here, I would have to wake up at 6 a.m. for a show. I would have to wake up at 6 a.m. for work. I wouldn't get off to 2, traffic, of course. I'm getting home. I get up maybe 30 minutes to nap, do my makeup, and drive an hour out to Pomona or Victorville or wherever to do a show, be there till like 3 a.m, come back, go to sleep, and have to be at work at 6 all over again. And I would do that like 2 and 3 days in a row. Like, if you're gonna do drag, so going to your question, like, what would you say to queens coming up?
Now have, and there's so many creative minds that we have, that something is going to come out of this that is not just Drag Race, you know? Yeah. And so I just want people to understand that, because I think that that's all people say now. So you're gonna go on Drag Race now? And I'm like, no, I don't wanna go on that show. I don't personally wanna go. I love it, but I don't personally wanna go. I want my own brand. I want my own money. I want to control my own shit. I want to have my own shit. I'm not paying nobody a percentage of nothing that I want, because I want to do that myself, right? And so for me, if I ever get on the show, if that is a possibility, I can change my mind anytime, okay? So just want to make that clear in case this comes up 15 years from now. If I do end up on the show, I end up on the show, right? But for me, that's not like the goal of my drag. Drag is fun. Drag brings people together. Drag makes me feel like I'm doing something for my community. Drag makes me feel important, makes me feel like I have a voice, and I get to literally get told that I'm beautiful when I walk into the room. I don't get that on a daily basis. I do not. They have to get my personality. They got to figure out who I am first. They got to, they have to know what I've done, how many degrees I have. This world is shitty when it comes to actually getting to know people. Drag gets me into the door, and they'd be like, damn, can I buy you a drink? You're so beautiful. Your wig is so cute. Can I buy you a drink? Oh, that's all I have to do. Well, let me put this hair on every day, okay? So for me, listen, y'all, okay? Drag Race is not for everybody. Everybody don't want to go on there. Love this stuff and know that you will be broke for looking pretty. You will be broke for looking pretty, okay? You just will, until you can get to that place where you're constantly getting bookings and attention and all those things.
I'm gonna let you have your moment over here, Maddy. But I have to respond to the response of the response real quick. I agree. Now, I am one who has auditioned for Drag Race. I have auditioned for Drag Race, and I love the show. And I feel one day I'll get on there. But until I do, boo-boo, I'm gonna make it the best way that I can. I'm gonna do the best thing that I can. I knew where my skill was, and my skill was in hosting and organizing events. What got me to where I am in Ventura had nothing actually fully to do with drag. It had to do with me taking my skills and then interpreting it in drag. And that's hosting and running events. And that's been okay for me. I ain't rich. I still work a full-time job. And then I'll be sitting there answering emails for physics while I'm dusting off this brow the entire time. But It's the love of the art. We are artists. We are artists. And our canvas is our face and our bodies. And then we walk and go, and you said something earlier that you feel beautiful when you put on drag. Being in drag, being a female impersonator taught me how to be a better man and more confident man. I learned that skill from drag. When I enter a room, I carry the confidence that Cooper has in drag now as a boy. You can't tell me that I ain't kicking. You can't tell me that I ain't cute. You can't tell me that I am not worthy, whether I got this wig on or not. But when I do put this wig on, I'll be expecting that drink coming down the butt.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I was just gonna say what y'all all been saying, but more along the lines of drag is expensive. Do not like you can do drag cheap. You can do it, but you ain't gonna look like those queens that I think most people are being exposed to, which are those queens from Drag Race. And like not only that, drag became my passion because I was always interested in painting, I was interested in fashion, I was interested in music, I was interested in dancing. And drag became the amalgamation of all of those things combined into a single art form. And that's why I think drag is so amazing. But I started drag in college, buying dollar makeup, looking crazy, looking absolutely crazy. And listen, you're gonna look crazy for a while and your friends are gonna lie to you. Your friends are gonna lie to you and be like, oh, why are you look so good?
I did not lie to you.
No, I didn't lie to me. But some of your friends will lie to you. And that's okay. It's all part of that process. I think like people think that when you first do drag, you have to have boom, this instant great amazing things. Half them queens use Facetune. Don't you compare yourself to them. It's not gonna look great right away, but you accumulate those skills, you accumulate that experience. And then also like you don't have to have a different outfit for everything. Most of the queens I know got 5 or 6 outfits that they keep on rotation and they buy a new one every, like we all got the same one and mix it up, use different combinations. That is like really what it is. It's because you accumulate more and more little items, then you start figuring out different combinations and people think it's a whole new outfit. I'm gonna let them continue to think that. But you have to love it. Like you have to really love it. And when you're first trying to find stuff out, use resources that you know of. Use wig types, especially for Black queens. Use wig types. Wig types is really amazing. You get buy 2, get 1 free wigs on there and they ship it for free. And it's like $35. So like use wig types. Make sure that you're—
I have never heard of that site.
Oh, wig types. I'm gonna send it to all y'all. That's a great link. I highly recommend it. Make sure that you're using stuff in your tone when you're looking at YouTube videos and you're finding stuff. It's mostly a majority of lighter skinned folks who do those kinds of tutorials. Go look at Heidi in Closet's makeup tutorial. Go look at Monique Hart's. Go look at Nina Bonina Brown's. Those folks can tell you how to contour on your skin color. But yeah, drag is a passion that I have and I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Every time I get in drag, I'm like, I hate drag. I hate it. I hate I hate being in this. I hate being in these shoes. Why do I do this? I hate it. And then I walk out there and one person tells me I'm pretty. Or one person tells me I was really good. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I just wanted that external validation. And now we're good to go. But that like kind of also leads into the next part is when Hershii, you mentioned something earlier, and Cooper, you did as well, about how sometimes Black queens are brought into cast to be in comparison to these other white queens that are there, or they're there for a Beyonce number, or they're there for Rihanna night. What role do you think Black drag queens play in the community, and not just in the ways in which we're perceived, but also the actual roles that you find yourselves playing?
I guess I'll go. I guess like with Vivian was saying, like knowing your worth, if you're not wise enough or didn't have someone to say like, you don't always have to play, you know, the one that's doing the acrobats, because sometimes you get injured. You don't always have to do a flip. And so a lot of times we're always seen as like, oh, she's the dancing queen. She's the booty twerking, voguing, you know, and we don't get a chance to get into the beauty aspect of it. So a lot of times we're kind of just guided more towards, you know, a stereotype. And sometimes you'll look at someone and 5 minutes, you can tell if they have technique of something, or if they're funny or witty, And it's really just up to you to say, like, I'm not comfortable with this, but, you know, I'll try something different. But don't get sucked into that, like, oh, well, you're the, you know, like Cooper was saying, like, oh, I'm the plus size, so I'm only supposed to be Effie. I can't be Dina. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people would want to just put you in that category. And sometimes you do have to, you know, do a little, but don't get sucked into it, because then it becomes like repetition. They'll know, like, oh, this person will do that number, or I'll book them because I know they'll do it for free. So stop doing these free bookings. Like, say, like, hey, I may not have the gas. Can y'all throw me 20? If you don't ask, if it's not presented, don't be the quiet queen when everybody's getting fat and you over there like, can I get some more? Be that girl that's upfront and assertive. Don't always expect it, but just know your worth, and hopefully you could see how to, you know, not be a pushover and actually get things that you feel you're comfortable doing and not being typecast.
That's an important thing that you said. There's a very important statement that you had in there, is being assertive and not being a pushover. And the importance of that is that as Black men in dresses,
as women, Black women,
as women, we get the angry Black man / woman thrown on us immediately when you become assertive. And for a lot of people, that makes them take a step back and say, oh, well, if I act a certain way, if I stand up for myself, I'm not going to get booked. I'm not going to get in places. And this has been something that I have dealt with my entire life, because I grew up with a very assertive single mom who had to be that way. And so I grew up assertive, and there's something so visceral when someone tells you, don't get mad. We'll figure it out. Don't get mad. Don't worry about it. Don't get mad. It takes me back to feeling like that person that is always considered angry or on edge or nasty just for being Black. You don't know me, but you're going to assume that because I am standing up for myself, I am now an angry person.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, you have to continue to stand up for yourself. You have to continue to say, like Vivian said, I am worthy. I am worthy. I'm not going to sit here and watch you book out an entire club all night, party, and then the night you hand me a $25 and say, well, we paid for your drinks. And I'm like, and I say, well, what I agreed upon is this. And you say, well, that's not what we didn't make enough money. Don't be angry about it, or you won't get many bookings. Well, then I won't get many bookings. Because trust me, this lip gloss may cost $1, but over a couple of years, that dollar adds up. It really does cost $1, and I love it. But the reality is that you have to stand strong for yourself, and if you don't put that down, because no one else will. And for me, that role that I've always had to play was mother. I have always been a mother in whatever community that I've been in. I think that is because I'm not scared to stand up for myself and or stand up for other people. I'm not going to throw a shade at any organization or anything, but when I moved to Ventura, the queens that were working here weren't necessarily getting paid for all the gigs that they were doing. And I made a point, in fact, to go to the organizations that I work with and say, I am more than happy to work with you, but you will pay the queens and you will pay them equitably for what they do. It won't be this small back and forth here, this back and forth there. You will pay them equitably for what they're doing, for who they are, for their worth, for their time, for their energy they're putting into this work, or else I won't do it. And that has been one of the scariest moments of my career, moving to a new place, moving to a new city where I didn't know anyone, and them saying, yeah, we want you to run this, but we don't know if we have. Well, if you don't have it, then we just shouldn't do it.
Thank you.
To me, it behooves me.
Thank you.
But thank you for saying that. But it behooves me that the people who do equity work don't want to pay you. It just cracks me up. I mean, like, how is that a thing? How are you gonna say be equitable, do all these things, and you want me to do a free ass event where you are getting all of the money for it? I understand that you need fundraising and all that stuff, but if everything's around what I am doing, how come I can't get paid how come that is not in the conversation? How come that is not a part of the discussion?
But you will pay an out of town to come in.
And we get to fundraise. Why is that not in the conversation? It behooves me to believe that you do not talk about those things. And then you talk about equity work. How is that a thing? A whole fundraiser around drag and you don't pay them nothing.
Not in my town.
Can I
I'm on
Fix it. And that's why I'm super selective now, you know, because I did so much stuff for free and so much out of the kindness of my heart. But let me tell you this now, I am a kind-hearted person, but my heart requires a check. It requires a check as well. I can be kind, I can be nice, but I also can get a check. And those three things could be in the same room, right? I can do all of the things and still get a check. And I think that that's what we're being conditioned to think is that, oh, when you're a drag queen, like you just be humble and be grateful that you got a gig. Be grateful that I'm grateful. All the gratefulness in the world ain't gonna pay my rent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on the corner still being grateful, but without no house. So you need to figure out how to pay me. And if you do not want to do that, you will not get me. I'm not rude. I'm not nice. I'm not you need to pay me. And if you cannot pay me, then you need to go somewhere else. The one thing that I love about myself is that I strive to be the best. And when you are the best, they come after you.
Period.
Okay? The people come after you first. So if you are the best and they don't want to pay you, and it's like, I'm sorry, but I can't do what you're asking me to do because I want to get paid, then they're going to go to somebody else. You didn't lose out on anything. You didn't lose out on anything. And I just want to remind y'all of that. You didn't lose out on anything. Okay? Because you left with your dignity, your worth, your understanding of who you are, and they will come correct the next time if there is a next time. And if it isn't, good for you. Because now you get to go on to somebody who appreciates your art, values it, and will pay you for it. So you don't lose in any of this, okay? You're only winning. And if we can come up with that mindset when you're doing this work, I swear to you, the perspective of doing drag is going to change for you. Like, I don't want to go to a club who doesn't allow me to be myself. I don't want to be in your show if you don't want to hear that I'm a R&B queen. I don't want to be in your show. Because the minute that I compromise myself, I'm gonna get used to that. It's gonna become a practice and then it's gonna become a habit, right? And drag is the opposite. You know, honestly, doing this work is that's the opposite of what we do. It is to be bold and to live out and to be amazing, not to diminish our light because for a booking. Sorry, no boo.
It is work. It is work. That is the key. This is work. We are working. We are artists. We are working. And our time and our spirits and our energy, whether we are the top of our games or we're still learning, is worthy. We are worthy.
Hershii, I know you had something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was just adding to it. It was literally this time last year on Facebook, I caused a whole conniption fit with a whole bunch of queens because I made a status and I said, I'm looking for bookings. It was my workload was low. I need to pay some bills. The girls were asking me to come to their, not to my own horn. The girls were asking me to come to their shows and do them. And I said, I'm looking for shows. I'm looking to get booked. I'm not taking any tip spots right now. Need to pay a couple of bills. What do y'all got? That was the post. I didn't ask for anybody to do anything. And I was berated with all these older queens telling me how dare I and who do I think I am, and I need to humble myself, and these girls out here, and that's why I'm never going to make it, because how dare I ask for this, and I ain't been working out here long enough. And like I like in the, it wasn't a big deal, but it was big enough to where the girls labeled me a problem for a while, because I said and it changed my attitude, because I wasn't asking for anything but a paid booking. And it changed, seeing how I got the reaction, it changed my whole attitude to how I approach drag, because I said, calling the queens out who are speaking on the status, I said, so girl, who paying you? And who is paying you? And who is paying you? And who is paying you? Because when you get done, you still got to go buy makeup, and you still got to go buy shoes, and you still got to go buy outfit. And then I started thinking deeper. All these same queens that didn't want to pay, not only myself, but newer girls that were asking to get paid. It was returning to the how dare y'all. But these same queens would be asking these babies to, you need better outfits. What's wrong with your makeup? What's wrong with your wigs? Well, tip spots can only do so much for the girls. So what are y'all doing? So then they got madder, because I started asking the real questions. I said, so is it paying y'all dues? Or are you girls not negotiating budgets when you starting these shows? Do you girls just have mics? Do you girls just have mics when y'all start these shows? If that's what this about? So it got worse. Now Hershii is a problem. Hershii don't know. I said, it's not any of that. I want to know what the real problem is, because when you're booking, to me, if you start a show and you've been doing the show, especially if you've been doing the show over 5 to 7 months, by this time, people are obviously coming in. So you need to have a budget. And if you have a budget, you have enough money to pay girls. So we're either 1, you don't negotiate business and you don't have a budget, or 2, you're pocketing it, or 3, you're paying the girls that you want to pay and you're adding the extra girls and not paying them, which is not fair, because you shouldn't be calling girls in to perform if you don't want to pay them.
Yeah.
That point.
So what is it? What are we doing? Now, to this date, I've got the same queens that have all called me, I have gotten no answer to any of those questions. But it taught me to stand on my own 2 feet, because when you put it out there that this is not what I'm going to take, everything, for me personally, I can't speak for everybody, for me personally, everything works itself out, because now, since that day, nobody has approached me about doing a show without offering some money first. And there's been a couple of queens that have hosted shows that I get invited to by, like, say, for example, a queen would host a show that she's getting paid for. The person that booked her would book me, and he would make sure I'm paid. Mm-hmm. So I learned for myself, I have to put it out there that this is not, going off of what you said, Vivian, this is not what I'm going to take. I don't like what you're offering. I'm not going to take it. And I don't have to. And whatever you want to call me after that is on you. But girl, I'm going to get paid when I come to your venue. I see what this venue is doing. I see what they are making. So if you don't have a budget, you don't have Hershii, and I can perform somewhere else. That's how we're going to work that. And going off of what you said, if I have to be aggressive for you to get my point, call me what you want to call me after that. But ever since then, I ain't been on the stage yet. I've been blessed to the point where even if the girls they'll tell me up front, look, Hershii, we don't have a, like I did a show yesterday in the park, and they'll tell you, look, Hershii, we don't have any money to book you, but we would like you to be there. If you can even give me that much, I would say, you know what, girl, I'll come. And I've been blessed to the point where I'll go to multiple shows like that where they're off to Hershii, we ain't got no booking, and it'll be enough money to where I'll be like, don't even worry about paying me. The tips balance itself out. So it's just me standing on your own 2 feet and be like, girl, I don't have to take this. I don't have to take that. No. Where's the booking? Where's the booking? Where's the budget? What's your budget? What's the budget?
If y'all don't already follow Hershii on social media, I really recommend you following Hershii on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to know which pot got stirred first, go to Hershii's Facebook, because Hershii will always like comment on a thread and just make sure that she stay on it, or she gonna retweet it and then quote tweet it and be like, just so y'all know, here's somebody's business. And she always on her Instagram, there's 100%, almost every message, she was like, if this applies to you, she is speaking to someone specifically who done did something in that past day. But I love it.
I like it. Especially, like, here's another example. Just a couple of weeks, and it's all about, and you get into it, like, especially if you're a new queen, you learn the business as you go. But it's this queen, it's no need to call her name out enough like that, it's unnecessary, but it's this queen that has, since I've moved out here, I've known of her, and she's been holding a show at a college for the longest. And she's always asking the girls to do tip spots. And as I worked out here longer, I learned that colleges are always handing out budgets, which is something I didn't know when I moved out here. And I'm learning it from random queens. Like, and they'll say, girl, we getting this X amount of money and we don't have to do nothing, but, you know, just show up. So I'm wondering, why is this girl always asking every year, actually it's every like spring and fall, to do the tip spots when you have the money to pay these girls? And the only conclusion I could come up with was you have that budget in your pocket. So I'm asking a girl before I post this, what's the tea? They don't answer you. So for me, I would feel, it would feel messy for me to know that there are queens that I know that can barely scrape together enough money to pay their rent going out to these shows. And I'm working for queens like that. I'm going to tell them, girl, no, you need to ask her for some money. You need to ask her what the budget is looking like before you go all the way out to wherever, wasting your money, and she's telling you just collect tips. And then it's a college show. College students ain't got no money.
Exactly.
So ain't no tips coming. So you have a budget. Give it to her. Stop playing. No, and then that type of, oh, I'm sorry. I have the stuff rigged to stay up. Listen, and you know you got why, if you know, like how we was just saying earlier, I'm just going to have to hold this. Well, you know earlier how we was just saying how it was a struggle for us. Each of us has said in some shape, form, or fashion, it was a struggle for us to come up. So that means a queen before us and a queen before that, they're struggling to come up too. So why would you put a queen coming after you in that type of predicament when you don't have to? If you are blessed enough to have some money coming into your pocket, put it into somebody else's.
It's greed, honey.
Sure.
They want the booking, and sadly, it becomes like, oh, I can get booked, I can get my daughter in, I can get, it's me.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but you have to be smart enough to know it, but then be assertive, handle it professionally, because everybody always knows tea. And sometimes, as sad as it is, it might be a test. And even though they might not be in cahoots with it, but might have heard of it and said, oh, she didn't blow up in their face and didn't do this, I can handle her in a situation of business. Hey, I heard you, was needing this and whatnot, and you don't want to burn your bridge. Let them burn the bridge connecting to you, but not to you, to something that God has for you, and so forth. Because those colleges has been one of the biggest blessings for me in my drag career, because I was like in an art school where they said we didn't have dance classes, so drag wasn't even an idea. So to come to your hometown and now you have opportunity to do so in colleges is like, okay, there's more to drag than just dressing up. It's a business, and you can't take lightly when your name's on something and you're not getting paid for it.
And again, to cover what y'all was saying, just don't be scared to walk away from these. If they ain't giving it to you, don't be scared to walk away from these people, because there will be other clubs and there will be other places to perform.
And like I said before, create your own. Like, seriously, figure that out. Because when I came to Santa Barbara, I didn't want to do drag either, but create your own lane. Sam, I see you, girl. Like, create your own shit. Like, seriously, talk to somebody, get to know who's who in your community. Maybe a bar is willing to sponsor or to like give you the space. You just never know. Just start to ask for those. Create your own, because every town that you go to is going to have somebody who's doing the shows, right? And what I've noticed about that, in every single town, there's always somebody who does all those things. In Santa Barbara, I happen to be that person. The way that I think about drag is I give everybody opportunity. I don't do drama. I don't do any of that. As soon as you bring that to me, you will never be booked again. But I don't do that whole like, I'm just never gonna book her again. I talk to you and I tell you. Because I feel like that is my role as a show director. Don't be inboxing me talking about you didn't get booked again. No, I'm gonna let you know before you left. You will never be back here if I'm doing a show. Okay? And this is the reason why. I don't like drama. I don't like this. We are a family here. We're gonna keep it a family here. I don't care if you come from afar. You're a part of this family now. Act accordingly. I know you got some cousins that you don't like or some aunties or uncles that you don't like. Not in my family. Okay? We like everybody that's in our family. You know, you may get on my nerve a little bit, and I'll let you know. But I like you, right? And so I just want y'all to understand that. Like, you don't have to take every booking. You really do not. Leave it alone. Keep it going and create your own space. Talk to the managers of these bars. Talk to the promoters of these bars. If you get a good vibe from them, then proceed. Some of them are real shady, okay? Some of them will tell you all the good things, right? And don't give you nothing, right? So you have to be aware of that too. But I would say if somebody's not giving it to you, or you see that the queen who's on her throne, on her high horse, doing her thing, and you notice that she won't book anybody but her friends or whatever, don't mess around with her. Create something different.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, living in a small town, that queen hates it. She gonna hate it. Because basically what she's gonna do is like, I can't believe she's gonna do this. Well, honey, you weren't booking me, so I don't have time for you and your feelings, okay? I'm over here trying to make something happen for me, and I'm gonna do it my way. And this way is gonna be the inclusive way. Okay, so don't be like her. Okay, be like yourself and provide some opportunity for folk. You will never find me, especially in Santa Barbara or anybody else, somebody say, I'm thinking about doing drag. I don't care if you got in drag yesterday. You're gonna get on my stage. You can get on my stage. You can. And you will get some help. You will get some coaching. And if you want to do this and you want to continue to do this, you're going to have a family who supports you and backs you up. You're not going to find it in every community. And if you don't have that in that community, create it.
I want to jump in what Vivian was saying, just to piggyback. That actually happened to me. Ironically, I was in a situation where I was like, they ain't trying to book me. They'll make it difficult to where I can't get to the competition, but did a whole year's worth of shows. So I created my own and I was doing good. And I remember calling that club and saying, hey, I have my own show here. I would love to do a march. They said, oh, well, because you're not an actual gay club overall, we can't partner with you. And I'm looking at them like, did we not just lose the second biggest club here? Like, do you only want to be the only one club? Like, I'm trying to build a bridge, but sometimes you have to just be on that bridge alone and just know that at least you're there for the people, regardless of what other clubs may do. Because I was a queen of color, so it was different that I was in that predicament. In a predominantly white, community, you have a drag show? How? And so I just told myself, at least I gave myself that. I didn't allow anything that they were doing, because it was a lot of things that people were like giving me receipts for, and I knew, and I was just like, okay, but I'm not going to allow you to then have me looking crazy because I was the angry Black person, and I let them have it and whatever. I gladly took my second place and my coin and my $50 that I got, like every other night that I got second or whatever the case was. And I just humbly said, you know what, I'm going to turn what you're trying to make a no for me into a yes. And I did so. And so it didn't go anywhere because, as I said, there was still adversity within the same place that allowed you to do so. You got to be wise enough to know, even though they're close, they may not be on your side. They want to know what you're doing, so that way they know how to stop you. And so you have to be mindful that just because they're close to you, they're not always for you. And through that, at least I was able to learn the business, how to book, how to put on drink specials, the bar, they ain't gonna do the event if the drinks cost too much. So I learned other things and doing so. And I said, you know what? There's more to this than what I see. And California has been all that since then. And so I'm glad I went through that hardness, because it learned for people before me, like, hey, he did it with absolutely no help from the community, so to speak. And they loved it. So just keep doing it.
Thank y'all so much for sharing. I love the way in which this conversation has evolved, because the original question was, what role do Black queens play in the community? So, and we done hopped and hopped and hopped and hopped and hopped, which is wonderful. That's exactly what I was wanting and hoping for. But we almost are out of time already. This like time has like gone by in a flash. So I wanted to leave space for y'all to leave a message to folks. Like, if you have one thing that you wanted to pass on to folks who have tuned into this or who will tune into this, it could be specifically to up and coming Black queens. It can be to non-Black POC or white folks who may be watching. It could be to allies of the community. What is kind of a final message that you would want to pass on to folks who may be tuning in?
Before that happens, to answer that last question, I want to just kind of make a list so that people can understand that, because I think that we got a lot, but I want to like bring it together. Creators, opportunity creators, okay, opportunity givers, people who bring community together, realness. Like, I think Black queens bring a realness like no other. Okay, I think that Black queens are nurturers naturally. And I think that you're going to get people who are very serious about their craft and will do whatever it takes to make sure that you are entertained. Like, literally anything and everything. I mean, I look at Black entertainers all the time. I mean, you can see it in our world and the influences that Black artists have on so many other non-Black folk, right? And so that's no different within the drag community. So I really wanted to just streamline that and give y'all a more clear answer with all of the greatness that we were talking about before. But we are definitely creators, definitely some of the most resilient folks in our community. So I just wanted to make sure that I streamlined that a little bit for y'all.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, from what you just said alone, the first thing that comes to my mind is pillars and trendsetters. We are the folks who are really at the forefront of the drag community. And I think Black queens in particular, because Black culture is copied so quite often, it's like constantly. And so, especially when we're looking at queer culture, how much of queer culture is comprised of Black queer culture, and how often drag queens are the ones who are acting as those intermediaries between the folks who aren't involved within the ball culture, where even more of that is originating from. Black queens are really kind of a central guidepost for what is steering the culture of the queer and trans communities.
The culture.
It's for the culture.
It's for the culture.
Yeah. So would any of y'all like to begin? Miss Hershii Laura Crofts?
I've been watching her whip this ponytail around.
With that ponytail,
whip it back.
Ooh. The only message that comes to mind for me specifically is for the baby. I always think about the baby queens, because there's to me, from my experience, because Drag Race has caused this like boom of drag queens. There's that loss of mother to daughter, or like older to younger type of trend. Like, a lot of me myself, actually, before I became a Jete, a lot of us were just kind of bumping into each other trying to figure it out, and nobody would really give us anything, because unfortunately there was a lot of queens. And this is my experience both in Atlanta and in St. Louis, Atlanta, and in Los Angeles. A lot of us weren't given mothers or the opportunity to grow or somebody to teach us, because a lot of older queens were trying to secure their spot, because drag was like taking off in the past decade. Drag was going, so they were just trying to make sure their spot was secure. But with that being said, a lot of younger queens feel like I don't want to use the word listen, but they feel like older queens they don't have anything to offer. And with that being said, I would say babies need to pay attention to everybody that came before you, whether you consider their drag old or out of fashion or out of style. Everything that's old reinvents itself and comes back. And y'all need to pay attention. And I mean, for lack of better words, learn. And you don't have to ask questions, because a lot of us are willing to help. Ask questions and polish your. I get that we're in the age of, all drag is valid, which is true. All drag is valid. I'm sorry, but polish your shit up. Get into whichever your lane is and polish that shit up. Get that shit together.
Hey, period.
I will say this, because I want to chime in on something we said earlier, but I'll leave this message. Being in this community, and when I say this community, I mean in this drag community, as a person of color, is already hard. And when you get somewhere, like I feel like in my community, I've gotten somewhere and I'm trying to build it up for other people. Sometimes people will come in and they will try and steal your shine. For whatever reason it may be, or for whatever reason they're feeling slighted, or they feel like they're not a part of, or they feel like things are not being given to them the same way they're given to you. They're trying to negate what you have done to bring something for everybody. And my message to anyone who has ever been in that space is let no one steal your shine. You have to stand up when the world says no, for whatever reason that may be. You have to say yes. You have to say yes to yourself. And sometimes people are not going to understand what's happening in their world, in your world. And you may not come to an agreement, and that bridge may be burned, and all these things may happen, and you may be sitting out there. You may be sitting out there thinking that you are not worth it. And in those moments of darkness and in sadness or in strife, you have to tell yourself, I am, and I will be, and I can be. And you just have to keep going.
Yes, ma'am.
And the people that are going to be there, that are going to stand by your side, you talked about Vivian and friends and working with your friends. Sometimes you got to have that friend circle. And you got to be able to lean on each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the first person that you got to take care of is you. That's it. That's the first and foremost. You have to come first, and you have to breathe, and you have to know that you are worth it. If you could see right now, I have already messed up trying to make a dress today, and I gave up. And then I said, to yourself, no, you can do it. It might not look right when you sew it up, but it's got to start somewhere.
Yes. I guess what I would like to end with is, I guess growing up, being gay, you hear you can't be gay and go to church. You can't be this. And, people are like, well, how can religion go into drag? Look, religion, God is everywhere, and can be if you allow that to be in your life. But don't allow anyone to tell you you can't get your blessings, you can't pray to God, or whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, only you can live for you, and you can be whoever you want to be and still have certain things that you abide by and live by. And you may not be in a house, so to speak, or you may not have the family that you might have grown up with, but God is always there if you believe. I'm not putting it on anyone, but there's a lot of times people just feel because of who they are, you know, they have to do drag because they can hide through that. Don't let it be something that you have to hide through. Let it be what lets you shine. Let them see that you can sing on key with or without a mic. Let them see that you can sew, even if it takes you a couple of times. Let them see that you don't give up, and just let them see that faith that's been building up within yourself, because they'll appreciate that versus you being 1,000 somebody else's. Let them see the real you, and don't be afraid to let people know, you know, things that might have them question that, you know, you have faith. How could you have? Just be stern in your walk, and know that there are going to be people that are going to try to damper that. And because you know better, you can see and do better. But that's all I have to say.
My last words will be, try harder to find what you want others to give you within yourself. Try harder with that, because I think that we as LGBT folk have gotten the narrative that if straight people will accept and love us, then we will be okay. And for me, I don't believe that. If I can accept and love myself, everything's going to be great, because I can stop spending time in a fight club and more in my cheering section. So if you can do more of that, I think that's going to change your experience and completely allow you to rely on you and what you want to give to the world. I think it's so important. It is so important that you start to draw from yourself. If someone rejects you, they reject you. You don't become rejected. They went on and did their thing, right? Because you love yourself, because you respect yourself. And so again, if you can adapt in your mind and try harder to know that you're always winning, you will never ever think about losing. When people leave your life, you didn't lose them. You won so much, you gained so much knowledge about yourself, about what you are willing to take and what you can take. You learn how to love, you learn how to trust, you learn how to do a whole bunch of things. So when you adapt the mindset of you're always winning, your life will change. Draw from you.
Wait, do we have to end? Can we stay and talk?
We can stay and chat a little bit. I think my final message is to both the baby queens and also to those folks who come to support us as Black drag queens. So to the queens who are just starting out or who are in their journey, drag is for you. This is for you. This is your passion. This is what makes you happy. If it doesn't, you got to find something else, baby. You got to search, because this is a lot of effort for something you don't like doing. Drag is not like on Drag Race. When you're in drag in real life, it is not a competition. You have no reason to put these other girls around you down. These other girls have no reason to put you down. So bump them out your life, because I don't want to be in a place competing where they don't compare to me. Okay? So that is for you. And for the folks who come to these shows, you're a part of our journey. We are letting you into our lives. We're letting you into our art. And so we don't need y'all being like, her wig is straight, da, 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 da. Y'all don't know, y'all ain't participating in this, y'all ain't a part of this. This is for us. This is how we're representing ourselves. This is how we're pushing ourselves forward. So support that, respect that, applaud us for being our true and our genuine selves. And so for those queens, anytime you're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, is it fulfilling you? Is it making you happy? Is it a part of your life that you didn't know was missing until it was there? And now every single day you catch yourself in a magical moment, fantasizing about being on that stage or performing or just being that essence of your true self again, then you found your passion and you need to stick with it. And it is for you. And if anybody else tells you that it is for them or getting any other way of that, they need to move on and get out your life. and you need to get into the people who are going to be in your bleachers. Like Vivian said, those people who are going to be in your cheer squad, you need those people there for you. You want those people who you want to make, like, who motivate you to do your art, who help you find that inspiration. So this has been a panel of some really amazing Black drag queens. So I really just want to give a huge shout out to Hershii LiqCour-Jete. I want to give a huge shout out to Sheba. I want a huge shout out to Cooper. I want a huge shout out to Ms. Vivian Storm. And I have been your host / hostess with the mostest, Maddy Mokes, AKA Dwayne Mosby. Thank you all so much for joining in and tuning in. It has been absolutely wonderful to have you all here with us. This video has actually been recorded, so we will be posting this later on to the RCSGD YouTube. So if you tuned in a little late, or if you, for folks who had to leave early, they will be watching this on later. But thank you all so much for joining us. I'm gonna click stop recording in just a second, but thank y'all so much. Bye.